What's up, guys? Happy holidays. Chuck Silver and Smitty here with Occupy Fantasy to bring you the strategy for today's Christmas Day slate. Smitty, how we doing? It's Christmas Eve when we're recording this video, so we don't have complete information, but we'll do the best we can. You looking forward to the best slate of the year?
Yeah, man. It's exciting. We got a good slate for late swap, possible late news maybe, but just a fun slate overall.
Yeah, and the unique thing about this slate versus most regular slates is we're going to have complete information basically by the next time each game starts because the previous game, maybe something goes into overtime, it's still running, but we basically know which players you probably needed or which players bombed your lineup. So late swapping today, very crucial. And especially, it's a holiday. People don't like to late swap usually. They're probably not going to late swap as much as they should today. So if you can take a few minutes before each game starts to do that, I think that is just like this is one of the biggest edges of the whole season. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, same here.
I mean, in terms of like the quality of the games, I think these are all pretty solid matchups. It's funny because what 8 out of these 10 teams playing today played on Christmas last year. I think Minnesota and Spurs are the new additions, right? And if I'm not mistaken, this is only Wemby's first, second, or third time on national television. He just has not been shown to the public. So this could be a big one for Wemby coming out. Let's start with the Spurs.
Yeah, the Spurs look pretty good here. I don't expect them to come in with a ton of ownership besides Vassell. Vassell looks too cheap on both sides, but specifically DraftKings. And then I like taking shots on Wemby. He's center only, but if he's going to come in at low ownership, which I expect him to with so many other centers on the slate, he has the upside to match any center on the slate.
Yeah, I mean, what Wemby's done over the past couple games is just insane. And on the previous game, I thought he was on pace to put up like 80. He kind of slowed down. Actually, both of these games, he kind of slowed down, but 10 blocks, 8 blocks, 4, 7, 2. And I mean, he's not really getting steals, but I don't think he's been having, I say that as he's been scoring 26, 30, 42, but it kind of feels like he's just not doing much else besides the stocks. I guess he's scoring points, but if Wemby can put together a big game, filling up the stat sheet on the other stats, then this could be a pretty good one for him. And the minutes have definitely been there for him up to 36, 30, 37 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, the minutes look good. Chris Paul is another one you could take shots on. Point guard only on DraftKings, and then Sohan I think is a pretty good GPP play on DraftKings as well.
Yeah, the model's picking up on Sohan as one of the top value plays of the day, especially over on DraftKings. On FanDuel, him and Chris Paul are the two top values from this team on either site. And then on DraftKings, yeah, we can really look at Devin Vassell. I mean, 4,900, it's just the incorrect price. He's moved back into the starting lineup, if I'm not mistaken. We haven't projected for 30 minutes, so he's probably going to be one of the more popular value plays today.
Yeah, I think the other night he played like 37 minutes, so it's definitely possible on Christmas we see 33 to 37 minutes, which would be really nice at 4,900.
Yeah, and one thing I want to mention, so a lot of the teams that are playing today, they have different coaches, and so it's something. Sorry, I moved my camera, but they have different coaches, and so it's hard to look at old rotations and say, well, this coach tends to play his players a lot of minutes on Christmas. We have the Suns, the Nuggets, and who's the other team that didn't change coaches?
The Knicks.
And the Knicks. And all those three teams play their starters very heavily on the last two Christmases. And so it's not much to go off of, but there is a trend there. And so I don't mind giving those guys a couple more minutes because I think a lot of the minutes projections we're going to go over are kind of being conservative.
Yep, I agree.
Let's see from the Spurs. Just wanted to pull up overall usage rates for this team so far this season. They're basically fully healthy right now. Wembanyama, 32% usage, elite. Chris Paul, 15% usage, which is much lower than we would expect given what he's been doing on the court. But that's interesting that that's that low. And Julian Champagny actually has played the most minutes for the Spurs this season, 17.5% usage. So Jeremy Sohan, 21%, Devin Vassell, 24% usage, which is just, we have all the reasons in the world, I think, to play Vassell, at least over on DraftKings. And FanDuel, he's still going to be worth some GPP shots for sure.
Yeah, definitely. He looks like probably the best play on the slate. And then you have like the secondary guys, like you mentioned, Champagny or Keldon Johnson. I think they're both worth GPP shots. 4,200 for Keldon seems pretty solid.
Yeah, with Keldon, it's just a matter of minutes. And like I said, their guys are back. So we probably aren't going to see like that 30 plus minute spike night. We haven't projected for 22. And this year he has a 21% usage, which is solid. And so if we play Keldon, we're really just hoping he gets up to maybe like 26 minutes if he's playing really well. But even at 22 minutes, this 4,200 price on DraftKings opens up a lot. So the model's not identifying him as a top value, but at 4,200, I don't know what his ownership's going to come in at, but if it comes in low, I don't mind getting a little over the field. If it comes in high, then, I think we'll approach a little more cautiously.
Yeah, definitely.
Going to the other side of this game, New York, we know Tibbs likes to play his guys heavy minutes. And like I said, on Christmas, they do trend that way. And so Cat, one of the top plays on the whole model, Jalen Brunson, also double-digit OF index. Strong value plays in the mid-range. I mean, there's a lot to like from this first game. So what's your starting point on the Knicks?
Yeah, the Knicks look really good. I think Towns is my favorite play from here. He's a center, which we have a lot of good centers, but and then you have Brunson at 8K, which is also good. So them two definitely are my preferred options. But when it comes to the value slash mid range, um, OG looks really good. 5,800 with small forward, power forward eligibility. Uh, Pretty hard to pass on when he's going to be playing heavy minutes. And Bridges at 6K, I feel less about him, but he's still a fine GPP play.
Yeah, I think, well, the top value on the whole day is OG Anunoby over on DraftKings, over on FanDuel. OG's still ranked well, not number one, but just that price difference. The pricing on DraftKings is so soft today. It's kind of, I don't know if they do that on purpose because it's Christmas. I know the salaries were posted a little bit early, but OG's kind of been going off lately and the minutes are there. So 5,800, he's definitely going to be one of the more popular plays on the day.
Yep.
Let's see the minutes. 34, 37, 30, 37, 39 minutes. We have OG projected for 36. So, I mean, I don't even know if I'd mind giving him an extra minute or two just to get a couple more percent in my exposures.
Yeah, I agree.
I proposed this question to you before the stream. When I was building my dummy, my first instinct was to plug Wemby and Cat into the lineup, which just destroys my flexibility for the rest of the day since it's eating up my flex spot in the first game. But I mean, if that's the combo that ends up being the winner, it's a combo you need. But what do you think about doing that?
Yeah, I don't mind it at all. Then you're kind of just hoping for a good game, and you're hoping the production comes from them too. And then that also helps you later on, not with flexibility, but you kind of know what you need to do. Like if they hit the nuts, you can kind of build with chalk around it, assuming they're not chalky. And then if they bust, then you can build with some low owned players to try and at least get them in cash.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about the late swap strategy as we go through the later games. But yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to end up with a few lineups with both of those guys in it. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have more exposure to this first game than the field. I mean, we don't have ownership projections yet, but just looking at the kind of lineups that I've been playing with, I really like this first game.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, Jalen Brunson at 8K, 8,300. Just how much of a priority is he for you?
Yeah, he seems like a pretty solid play going against the Spurs. If we expect this game to be competitive, which I do, it seems like Brunson should get the minutes here. And at 8K, he looks really good.
Yeah, and even though he's $300 more on FanDuel, when these guys are this close in price and they're underpriced, Jalen Brunson is definitely underpriced today. I kind of think his FanDuel exposure is going to be higher than it is on DraftKings, but he's also going to be a slightly stronger play on FanDuel, so just keep that in mind.
Yep.
Anything else on the Knicks here? Anything like I mean, are there any 1% plays we can take shots on? Precious Achua, Cameron Payne, Miles McBride?
Precious is the one that comes to mind. If Towns or Hart get into foul trouble or anything like that, then he's the one that benefits. So we have him for 18 minutes. If he ran into any more than that, he'd be a pretty solid play at 3,500 on DraftKings.
Yeah, and him having that power forward eligibility is huge. I don't know that we're going to get there on FanDuel, but at 3,500 on DraftKings, excuse me, I don't know if he comes in with the ownership he deserves. Like Smitty said, we haven't projected for 19 minutes. That's pretty strong. I'll take Precious Achua if you tell me he plays 19 minutes.
Yep.
Let's go to the next game, Minnesota and Dallas. So Luka's questionable. It's Christmas. Pretty sure he's going to play. Do you lean that way that Luka's in today?
Yeah, I just lean he plays today.
And so, with everyone in, I think the prices have pretty much adjusted for Luka being back in the rotation. And Luka's price, 11,100, seems a little bit low. So, assuming that we can find the proper value to fit him in at least not uncomfortably. How much Luca are you interested in getting to today?
Yeah, I would definitely like to be over the field. I know we don't have ownership yet, but he seems like a priority today. He's not even 12K. So Luca in this matchup. And then I also don't mind getting to a little bit of Kyrie on DraftKings.
Yeah, I don't mind it. And Luca, yeah, his price is down a few hundred. It's not too much of a price discount. And what, they blew out Portland last game, so he didn't play too much. He hasn't been great. He did put up 94, 76. And so I feel like I'm down on Luca, but looking at these fantasy scores, like a lot of these are pretty great, and we'd be very happy with any of these scores tomorrow. So Luca, it's going to be tough to get there. We'll have to see if we can find some value, but he's one of the top plays on the model. I mean, he's only behind Jokic. Very interested in Luca today.
Yep.
PJ Washington, Clay Thompson, I guess Najee Marshall. Where are you on those three guys?
Yeah, I don't mind any of them. I don't really think they're priorities by any means, but I think PJ's probably one of my favorite plays out of them, just with power forward eligibility. And then Clay, shooting guard, small forward eligibility is pretty nice. So you're just kind of hoping he hits his threes and he comes in lower owned. He seems okay.
Yeah, and I mean, Clay on Christmas, it's got to be a nerve wracking day for him. He knows everyone's watching, rooting against him. So I hope he goes off tomorrow. I don't think he's going to come in with much ownership. Like, I can't imagine he's chalk, right? And so assuming he comes in lowish ownership, maybe 10%, 12%, something like that. I don't know that I'd be interested in getting over the field, but I do want to make sure that I have some exposures in my 150 on both sites.
Yeah, same here.
In terms of how the model's ranking these guys for value, PJ Washington looks good. I mean, Clay Thompson does not look good. Najee Marshall looks even worse, only projected for 18 minutes. So it's going to be a little bit tough. Quentin Grimes, only projected for 17 minutes. It's just, what can we do with that? I mean, the price seems fine, but he'd have to do a lot in those 17 minutes to get there. So I don't know that we're that interested in these secondary guys. Maybe we're looking at, you mentioned Gafford and Lively earlier, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think Gafford and Lively are both in play. Decent prices on DraftKings, FanDuel. Yeah, they look good on FanDuel as well. So I don't mind taking shots on either of them.
We have Lively projected for 25.7 minutes, Daniel Gafford for 18.6. It's a pretty decent price difference. Gafford at 4,200 on DraftKings versus Lively 5,500. And we definitely know that we have a need for this value. So if we want to fit in Daniel Gafford, I will point out the model still likes Derek Lively as a better points per dollar play over Gafford, even though he's 1,300 more. It's those extra 8-7 minutes, whatever he's projected for, make kind of a big difference. And
Yeah.
then over on FanDuel, it's pretty similar. Go ahead.
No, that's all I was going to say.
Okay, nice. So yeah, I think for me, I like Luca. I'm definitely going to be mixing in Kyrie. I'll get to some PJ Washington. Model likes him more over on FanDuel, slightly more on FanDuel. And then, yeah, I think I'll take shots on both of these centers. But Gafford, it's just that 4,200 price. If he can go off, even taking up the center spot, it's going to open up a lot for the rest of the game for the day.
Yeah, we don't have a ton of cheap value, especially with upside like Gafford. So I think he's definitely one of my favorite plays.
I like it. Let's go to the other side of this game, Minnesota. Anthony Edwards, he's been kind of disappointing this season. Is today the day that he shows up with a 10.6 OF index?
Probably not, but if he comes in lower owned, I don't mind taking shots there. He's just a player that I've just been underweight on. The ceiling hasn't been there this season until he shows it. I don't really want to play him, but if he comes in, his ownership showing under 10%, then I'll definitely have some shares.
Yeah, for me, that's what it's going to be. If he's the chalk, I might do something really risky and go way under the field. If he's low owned, I'll take shots. But it's like in preseason, this dude was taking 12 threes a game. First few games of the season, he was taking a ton of threes. And it's like that sounded great at first until you realize how much it's taking away from him driving. And he's just not doing it. And I honestly think it's he's been catching a lot of heat on Twitter recently. But Julius Randle is just, these clips I've seen of the effort is embarrassing. I'd be so mad if I was one of his teammates. Model can't read things like that. Model thinks he's okay. 7,100 is a good price for Julius. We haven't projected for 33 minutes. I mean, Julius Randle, he kind of fits in lineups today, so I think we have to play him a little bit.
Yeah. I'm kind of assuming he comes in higher owned, so I'll probably be around the field on there. But like you said, he just makes things work. I don't feel great about it, but if he makes my lineup work with what I like around it, then I'm okay with it.
And it's like, so I have to think that a lot of people playing DFS tomorrow have seen all the clips or heard the stuff going on with Julius. And so they might be less inclined to click on him, especially if they're hand building. And so if he comes in, I mean, what would you say? We're like just making up numbers here, but what would be an ownership number for Julius where you want to get over?
Probably if he's anything less than like 20%.
Okay, that's about what I was thinking too. Because if I have like 30% Julius Randle tomorrow, like 30% of my Christmas depends on Julius. It sounds like a lot, but if 20% of my exposures gets me over the field, then I'll be pretty happy with that. But I
Yeah,
wouldn't be surprised if he came in a little bit chalkier, just because the 7,100 is probably necessary today.
yeah.
Rudy Gobert, man, 6,200. I've been talking about how cheap his price is, but he just has not been doing it. I think you were the one that first gave us the information that we like playing centers against Dallas. Is that something that we're going to be interested in Rudy Gobert today?
Yeah. Gobert's kind of. I'm fine playing him. It just seems like he's just lacked a ceiling this season, so it's kind of hard to click him when we have so many high upside centers. But on DraftKings, I'd be willing to take some shots, especially if he comes in lower owned.
It's kind of bizarre, right? Because this guy was, perennial defensive player of the year, and then at the beginning of the season, I don't even think he was top five in betting odds. And I don't know, the Olympics, he got benched for the national team, and he comes back this season. No cat, you should have a lot opened up for you, but no, he just hasn't been doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think part of the issue could be just they're shooting so many threes that his rebounding opportunities have just been limited.
That's a good point too. And so I'm assuming he's going to come in lower owned, especially, we talked about how many awesome centers we have on this slate. So if he's in single digit ownership, I wouldn't mind getting maybe like 10% of Rudy Gobert. But if he's low owned, I do want a little bit more than the field because this price is still attractive.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. If he comes in under 10%, I wouldn't mind getting in that 10 to 15 range on him.
Just some usage numbers here for Minnesota overall on the season since they're fully healthy, mostly healthy. They have a couple guys out, but not that are relevant for fantasy. Anthony Edwards, 31% usage rate in 1,000 minutes. Rudy Gobert, 12% usage in 947 minutes. That's Tony Snell territory, and it's like, yeah, they don't pass Rudy Gobert the ball because other than lobs, he can't really post up. He doesn't have an offensive game, so it kind of makes sense. We're really just banking on him getting stocks and that double double.
Yep.
Julius Randle, 27% usage. Dante DiVincenzo, 18% usage. And Naz Reid, 21% usage. We didn't talk about Naz Reid, but the 4,400 price with power forward eligibility, he had a good game last game. I feel like the minutes have been up. That might just be like that night might not be real, but I have a feeling he's going to be pretty popular on today's slate.
Yeah, I could see that. The price tag's just really appealing, so it's kind of hard to say not to play him, but the minutes aren't super consistent.
Yeah, and there definitely is going to be some variance in the minutes. We haven't projected for 25, which I think is a pretty, I don't even know if that's a conservative estimate. It still seems slightly aggressive, but 29, 25, 16, 27, 26, 21, 32. So those five, plus or minus 5 minutes is kind of a big deal for Nasri. But at 4,400, if he plays 25 or 29 minutes, I mean, either way, he's going to be one of the top plays on the slate.
Yeah, I agree.
Anything else here? I mean, did you already slander Mike Conley?
No, he's showing up as top of the DK value. If you want to go there, if he makes things work, I understand. But someone I plan on being underweight too just lacks the ceiling that I'm looking for.
I really hope I end up underweight, but just don't know if we're going to have that value by the time this game starts. And like we always say about Mike Conley, he's a guy that makes lineups work. He wins a tournament sometimes, so we can't ignore him. 4,600 is a good price. Kind of like Nas Reed, his minutes are a little volatile too.
Yep. Yeah, and then the other player is Jaden McDaniels. I kind of expect him to get some ownership too. Small forward eligibility. FanDuel, he's small forward, power forward, but he's also 1,200 more. So he's probably a little lower owned on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, he probably comes in with some ownership.
Yeah, on DraftKings, models telling us that he's definitely a good value today at 4,200. We just have a need for it. He might end up chalk. Depending how chalky he is, I might try to get away a little bit if I can. But if he's like, regular owned, then I don't mind getting there, whatever that
Yeah.
means. Over on FanDuel, 5,400, the model's a little bit lower on him. He's probably going to be like a 2-3% owned play. We can just take moonshots on him, I think, over there.
Yep.
Dante DiVincenzo, I feel like he's been talked about the last few slates. He's 4,100 on DraftKings. He's just been so bad. They're asking him to run the point guard position. He is not a point guard. Sit him in the corner, let him shoot. Uh, but 4,100 again, we have no value, and I feel like I'm definitely going to be playing him today.
Yeah, he's just another cheap value play we can take shots on, and just hope he hits his shots. That's mainly all it comes down to with him.
Yeah, I mean, 19 minutes, 26. Like, if he ends up playing 26, 25 minutes, we'll feel pretty good about him at the 4,100 price. But if he only gets 19 or 20, maybe that means he's having a poor game, and these 16, 13, 14 fantasy points are not going to do very well for us winning a tournament today.
Yep.
I mean, thinking about like Gary Trent the last couple of slates, like it's kind of gross, but he fits. So maybe we just have to play him a little bit off the bench.
Yeah.
Definitely depends what the ownership is, though. We'll see what that comes in. If it comes in very low, then I think I'll be interested in getting quite a bit over the field.
Yep. And then one other guy I do want to mention at least is Nickeil Alexander-Walker at 3,600. I just think we don't have a ton of cheap value, and he's one of the cheaper value plays on DraftKings that lets us play a Jokic or a Luka. So I don't mind getting there.
Yeah, and especially given how strong the studs are on this slate, and even some of like the players in that tier right below the studs, just having Nickeil in your lineup, even if he doesn't have an outstanding game, can be enough to just unlock the combination that a lot of the field can't get to. So don't look at the 3,600 like, oh, I need a certain score from him. I don't think it really matters. We haven't projected for 24 minutes. If he plays 24 minutes, I'll be pretty happy playing him at 3,600. If it lets me fit in the Wembys, the Cats, the Anthony Davises, in my lineup,
Yep.
and I hit on those guys.
Yep.
Let's go to the next game, Philadelphia and Boston. And so let's go ahead and start with the Philadelphia side. I still don't know what happened in the previous game. Drummond got ejected, and then they said never mind, and then Embiid actually got ejected, and then someone said their feelings were hurt. So I don't know, but Embiid's healthy. He got a little bit of a rest. He was on pace to smashing, and he's only 9,500 on DraftKings. So I think he's a starting point here. How much Embiid are you interested in today?
Yeah, I think Embiid looks pretty good if he manages to play a full game. I think we see a pretty good game. In order to keep it close against Boston, they're definitely going to need him.
Yeah, I mean, do you have any predictions for what his ownership looks like at 9,500 on DraftKings?
I don't know. With so many high upside centers, I kind of see it still being pretty reasonable, maybe in the 20% to 30% range.
Okay, nice. So when I asked you that in my head, I was thinking like, because I feel like a 30% ownership on Joel Embiid would be kind of high.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like the price is awesome, but it takes up a roster spot and there's a lot of studs. And so I think we really want to spread it out. But Joel Embiid stands out at 9,500 for sure. Even the 10-7 on FanDuel, he's probably going to be less popular over there, but we can take some shots.
Yeah, maybe this is a game he's sick of everyone talking about him.
Maybe.
Yeah, probably not.
Tyrese Maxey put up a monster ceiling game last time. He's 8,400 on both sites. Assuming Joel Embiid plays the whole game, I think he's probably a good GPP play if he comes in under 10%. If he comes in more than 10%, then I'd like to see what he comes in at, but maybe I'll try to match the field in a play like Tyrese today.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. He has a high ceiling, so he's definitely worth taking some shots on, but his floor is also kind of low. PG, Paul George, I think he looks pretty good on DraftKings and FanDuel, where he's only 7,800.
Yeah, man. Paul George, like this is what the first year of the huge contract he signed, and it's not starting out great. 16, 6, and 5. Dude, they paid $250 million for this.
Yeah.
The minutes are there, though. I don't think Paul George fell off that fast. He's been underperforming. 8,100. It's Christmas Day. Maybe he steps it up a little bit. The shot attempts seem kind of low to me. I know there's a lot of other good players on this team that take up some usage, but Paul George, I can't imagine he pulls too much ownership, so he's probably worth taking shots.
Yeah, and another thing is they'll play their guys minutes. So we have like Maxi for 38. He can get to that 40 range, and that wouldn't surprise me at all. So I think their ceiling's a little bit higher than the model shows. And Paul George we have for 35, and he could definitely play 37.
Nice. Nice. And then Kelly Oubre is a guy I've been kind of interested in over the last few slates. I imagine he's going to come in pretty low owned today. If that's the case, and I'm talking about like 5% or under owned, I'd like to be a little bit over that. But if he comes in any higher than that, it's going to be really tough with this team fully healthy. And even then, he's probably a little bit deep.
Yeah, I agree. I think he looks better on FanDuel where he's shooting guard, small forward. You have to play two of them, and he's under 6K, so definitely worth taking some shots on.
So Eric Gordon went to the dentist. He's probable. He's playing tomorrow or today. And then Andre Drummond's listed as questionable with a toe. Did that happen during the game?
I'm not sure.
So that's interesting because KJ Martin's also out. And so let's say Drummond ends up out. I don't know that we could project Yabusele. Would we project Yabusele for more minutes if Drummond ends up out?
Yeah, I would think so because he would have to play the backup five.
Play the backup five as well as alongside
Or,
Joel Embiid for some minutes.
yep.
Okay, nice. Yeah, so that's a spot to definitely consider because he has that power forward eligibility, which is really strong today at this value price that we probably need. This could be one of the guys that we end up swapping into. Maybe from the first games he played Cat, and he just had a really bad game, and that lineup's probably not that live to cash. Swap to some guys that the field maybe isn't going to swap to if we get that news Drummond's out. Yabusele is probably a pretty good one. The chances he saves your lineup are pretty low, but if that lineup's not cashing anyway, that's a way to do it. Swap off some of the chalk from the later games and just get to some of this low owned guys to try to get that leverage and save the min cash.
Yeah.
Anything else from this team? Caleb Martin, 3,800, 4,200 seems like a good price projected for 25 minutes.
Yeah, he's a cheap value play. I don't mind taking shots on, especially if he gets those minutes. I think he looks okay.
So he played 27 in the last game. I don't have that rotation pulled up, but 29 in the one before because Embiid got ejected. So I don't know if he picked up a couple extra maybe power forward minutes because of that. But I don't know. Does this 25-minute projection we have for him actually seem kind of high?
Yeah, I think it seems a little high. If we get Drummond out, maybe it boosts his minutes a little bit, but
Yeah, I could see that. And like I say, it's kind of high knowing he played 27 and 29 minutes, but I feel like a 25-minute projection for Caleb Martin makes him chalk. So I'd be a little bit careful with that.
yep.
Let's go to the other side of this game. Boston. So they pulled some trickery last time out. Jason Tatum got ruled out. Was it like right after lock, or did people have time to swap?
No, it was right after. It was like I don't remember the time, but it was literally 1 minute after the game locked.
Yeah, and then Jalen Brown smashed a 2%. Drew Holiday smashed a 2%. Feel like someone else did something there, but Jason Tatum's questionable. So this is the first spot on the slate that we might have to make some if thens. But do you have a lean?
I kind of just assume he plays, but you never know. With an illness, it's pretty hard to judge there.
Yeah, I mean, to be ruled out right after lock, I don't even think he was on any injury report on the previous game. That was, 2 days ago by the time
Yep.
this game starts. So, assuming he's ruled in, I mean, I'm going to build as if he's playing. If he gets ruled out, there's enough studs in the late games that we can swap to. We're not going to be leaving salary on the table or anything, but 13.0 OF index. DK and FT value is pretty good for his price. And again, we don't know the ownership. I imagine he's not going to be super popular, but maybe like you said about Embiid, maybe around that 20%, if I had to guess.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too. I like him at that number. I think he's a player I wouldn't mind getting a little bit over if he comes in around 20%.
Now, beyond him, assuming he's in, what's your interest level in these next three guys? I guess just any of the rest of the starters up to Drew Holiday.
Yeah, Drew looks fine. 4,800. He's just another cheap value play. Kind of similar to Mike Conley. You don't expect a huge ceiling, but I would kind of lean that Drew has a higher ceiling than Conley. So I don't mind going there. Porzingis seems a little too cheap. He's also center only. FanDuel, he has power forward eligibility. He looks better there. And then Jalen Brown. Probably won't get too much of Brown, but if Tatum's out, he becomes a lot more interesting.
Nice. Yeah, I agree. And even if Tatum's in, I kind of think that all these guys' ownerships are going to come in pretty low again. I mean, it's projected to be a close-ish game, 9 points. It seems kind of high, right? Nine
Yeah.
point spread. No, Philly's terrible, but still, it's a low total. I don't. If Jason Tatum's in, I don't think anyone on this team is a priority. Like Drew Holiday, we have to be interested in because of the price. But if Tatum is out, I mean, we're going to be basically swapping on to everybody, right? But we have to be careful because there's still two games with a lot of players we're interested in after this. Remember, Devin Booker's out, so KD and Beal look really good in the mid range. We'll see if anything looks good in this Lakers Golden State game. But
Yep.
the point is just the Celtics guys are going to become good plays, but I don't know that we want to go nuts.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we'll have to see what that looks like. And then Peyton Pritchard, 5,700. I was kind of disappointed to see his price not like really lowered like a lot of the other players on the slate. But any GPP interest in him on Christmas Day?
You could take some shots. I wouldn't mind getting to a couple percent if we get him at 1 or 2% ownership.
Nice. Let's go to the next game. Lakers at Golden State. So we have some studs here. I don't know how interested we are in the Golden State side, but let's start with the Lakers. I mean, LeBron on Christmas, has he been good? He's been okay. The how what's your starting point for the Lakers?
Yeah, it's probably LeBron at his price tag, 9,300. He's just kind of one of the cheaper studs with a ceiling. The minutes are going to be there. He's probably going to be trying against Golden State. 9,300 on DraftKings and 9,400 on FanDuel just seem too cheap.
Yeah, and Christmas narrative, whatever. He's only smashed on Christmas a couple of times, but he mostly has games that we're not super disappointed with, except for last year. Last year, he had a bad game on Christmas against Boston. Golden State's a much worse team, and we just saw like LeBron get super rejuvenated after taking that time off. So it's 9,300, 9,400 price. I imagine he's going to be one of the more popular studs, especially Christmas Day. More casual players are playing. They're going to click on LeBron James and Steph more than usual.
Yeah. Yeah. And then AD, that's your pivot. He probably comes in low round since he's center only. So I don't mind going there on DraftKings. On FanDuel, I think he's an even better play with power forward eligibility.
Nice. Yeah. AD 10-3 is just, it's too low. And in terms of like overall model ranking, he's number 4. LeBron James, it's a little disappointing to see him this far down here. No one more expensive than him is below him, which is like a sign that I use to see who's like the worst stud of the day. But I don't know. I'm kind of go beyond the model here, and I'm still going to play LeBron James. We have him projected for 35. It's Christmas Day. What if he ends up playing 38, 39? He's going to look like a much better play then.
Yep.
Secondary guys on the Lakers, Austin Reeves or Rui Hachimura. D'Lo's questionable. That might open up a few minutes for another piece of value here. But let's start with Rui and Austin Reeves. What's your interest level there?
To me, Rui just kind of seems like a fill-in play, not a priority by any means for me. If he's coming in higher owned, I'd rather be underweight. But assuming he's low owned, I don't hate taking shots. Reeves at 6,100 on DraftKings looks pretty good, and if we get D'Lo out, he looks even better. FanDuel 6,500, a little harder to get to, but he also has small forward eligibility, so I don't mind it on either side.
What about my boy Dalton Connect down to 3,900, 4,200? We only have him projected for 12 minutes. Is this I still think we can consider him at just the way that he scores fantasy points. If he comes in, hits a couple threes, he's going to earn more minutes.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. If he's a player that's on the slate that has the potential to earn more minutes if he's shooting well, and we get D'Lo out, then he looks even better.
I can't imagine he's going to pull much ownership, like a 1-2% owned play. But and understand a lot of the time you do play him, he's going to put up this 11.5, 1, 3, 7. But once in a while, and especially on a day like today where we don't have that many good, not that he's good, but low owned value plays that have a ceiling. If we get that ceiling play from him, that's tournament winning.
Yep.
Would you apply that same line of thinking to guys like Max Christie or even Cam Reddish, Gabe Vincent if D'Lo's out?
Yeah, I'd be more on Max Christie, but Gabe Vincent seems okay if D'Lo's out. Max Christie, 3,800. We have him getting 20, pretty much 27 minutes at 3,800. I think he's another value play you can just kind of mix in.
Yeah, I don't hate it. And we already have him projected for 26 minutes, which is pretty strong. And then a guy like Gabe Vincent, let's say D'Lo's out, his minutes projection is going to go up. He's not a great producer. At 3,400, I don't think he has to do much because similar to whatever the other value play we were talking about earlier, Nickeil Alexander Walker, he allows us to fit more studs into our lineups, and so we don't need that ceiling game. We just need some fantasy points if we play him.
Yep.
Let's go to Golden State, and I've been alluding to it the whole stream. I just don't think this team is that interesting. I feel like they cut their rotation a little bit, but even Steph, 89 and 8,500, I feel like I should be interested because it's Christmas, but I'm not.
Yeah, they're probably the least appealing team on the slate. Trace Jackson Davis on FanDuel, he has power forward
Mhm.
eligibility. He looks a little better. DraftKings, where he's center only, I just kind of think he lacks the upside where we can get from other centers on this slate. But I still don't mind playing him if he helps me get other guys in my lineup. Steph, like you mentioned, I feel like I'd want to play him, but he just hasn't done it.
Yeah, and this is another guy, Steph, that I expect his ownership to be artificially inflated just because it's Christmas. Casual players are going to click on Steph Curry because it's Steph Curry, not realizing the price or what he's been doing recently, whatever. But I'd like to see what it comes in at. If he comes in under 10% owned, he's definitely a good GPP play. It's Steph Curry on Christmas. I will note he's only ever had one good game on Christmas Day out of 10 he's played. So Christmas Day trends, if you're into that. Uh, Tight spread, 4.5 points. It's not too bad. Sorry, guys. It's getting late over here. I'm getting to the end of this video.
I feel you.
Anything else here you want to mention?
Andrew Wiggins, I don't think is the worst kind of mid-range play just to fill a lineup. Not a priority, but under 6K on DraftKings, I think he's in play.
Nice. And I pulled up TJD just to show the minutes the last few games. If he starts, I'm going to be pretty comfortable firing him up at 4,100, assuming I have any center spots left.
Yep.
Let's finish with the last game, Denver and Phoenix. And so Denver, Denver has the same coach, right? They didn't fire him yet?
Yeah.
Not yet. But I expect heavy minutes from these guys. Jamal Murray, if he wasn't questionable, I would expect him to actually play the most minutes here, but I don't know how bad his injury is. We haven't projected for 36, so second on the team after Jokic. What's your starting point with the Nuggets?
Yeah, I think it's Jokic for me. I know he's hard to get to, but he's one of my favorite spend ups on the slate. And then you mentioned Jamal Murray on DraftKings. He's just way too cheap, and he has shooting guard eligibility. So I think he's a pretty solid play. And then you just kind of have these secondary plays like MPJ, Christian Braun, and Aaron Gordon. I think they're all just GPP plays.
Yep, I agree. And Jokic, of course, far and away the number one play in the model, much higher than Luka. I will say, I feel like there's more center plays we're interested in today, at least at the top end, than there are point guards we're interested in. So for that reason alone, I would expect Luka to be more popular than Jokic today.
Yep.
Trying to pull up so usage for Denver Nuggets overall this season when everyone is I guess just overall, not necessarily when everyone's in, but Jokic only has a 30% usage. That's the lowest I've ever seen. It's still elite, but Jokic, I mean, we're used to seeing him have the first, second, third highest usage in the NBA. So seeing that down is really discouraging. Jamal Murray's at 24%, which is good. Michael Porter, 21%, which is fine for, a player like him. Russell Westbrook, though, 23%. And I feel like the minutes are there recently, and that's the GPP spot I'd like to take on this team. I assuming he's going to come in 1 to 2% owned, and I don't mind taking a shot or two.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. A little tougher to get to on FanDuel, but DraftKings, I think he looks pretty solid.
Just like this is insane, dude. This is not prime Russell, but I mean 35, 33, 36 minutes.
Yeah.
We only have him projected for 26. No one in the industry is going to project him for close to this, and if he's playing well. And Smitty, do you remember if anyone was missing in this game? I feel like Jamal's been playing
Jamal was out last game, I think.
when Russell only played 25.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I think the minutes might be under projected for Russell across the industry. The price might look disgusting, but if he comes in 1 or 2% owned, this is a spot I'd like to take some shots on.
Yep.
Did you mention Christian Braun?
Yeah. I think he's just another one of those mid range plays. He's going to get the minutes. So I don't mind going there.
Yeah, he's showing up as a top value from this team in the model. One of the top values on the day overall. Fourth after Mike Conley, Tyus Jones, and OG. But again, just another guy at 5K. It's not super appealing, but he fits in lineups, and we don't expect him to crush us. So maybe sometimes he'll get hot.
Yep.
Last game, and we definitely went over the time I expected to, but that's okay. Hopefully, we helped you guys find the edge today. Phoenix, no Devin Booker, and Grayson Allen's already been ruled out as well. So Kevin Durant, I expect to be one of the most popular studs on this slate.
Yeah, he seems like probably one of the top spin ups on the slate, and his price isn't where it should be, especially with them off the court. 9K on DraftKings, 9,600 on FanDuel is a little harder, but on DraftKings, he seems like one of the top plays. He has the second highest DK value on his team with a 12 OF index, so he looks like a top play.
Yeah, I ran some very rudimentary lineups and Brad Beal, KD, and Tyus Jones, even Royce O'Neal. I'm sure I'm going to adjust things tomorrow, but this is just such a huge spot with Devin Booker off the court and these prices not adjusting properly. And so we talk about it a lot. I'm going to have a ton of exposure to this game at lock. By the time this game starts, who knows how much I'll have then, but definitely going into lock, I'm pretty sure the Suns are going to be the team I'm most exposed to.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. Like you mentioned, KD, Tyus. I'm getting to quite a bit of Tyus. I think he's a pretty good mid range play. And then Royce, assuming he starts, he looks like one of the better value plays.
I mean, whoever those other guys we were talking about for like 4,800 at the guard position, Tyus at 52 is just a lot more comfortable.
Yeah.
So it's really weird here because with Devin Booker and Grayson Allen off the court, Royce O'Neal has the most minutes, about a 13% usage rate. Not great, but again, how's Royce going to get there? Get hot from three, get a couple stocks, and just get 7 rebounds or whatever. So that's not too concerning for Royce anyway. KD, 36% usage. That's close to the top in the NBA. And Bradley Beal, 25. Tyus Jones, 18%. Those are with about 100-minute samples, but it's really weird because like I didn't put Grayson Allen back on the court, but when I take off that qualifier, KD's usage shoots up to 39%, Bradley Beal up to 27%. Tyus Jones stays at 17, but either way, I mean, it's just more reasons that I think we're going to be interested in the Suns today at the top end.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's see. Is there any like slate wide notes that you want to mention before we get out of here? Maybe any late swapping ideas?
No, we kind of touched on some, but just make sure you're late swapping if you have guys that do well or you have guys that perform poorly. Just make sure you're swapping accordingly.
Yeah, and just in case I wasn't clear about that earlier, it's just if you have a lineup that's probably not going to cash, swap in lower owned guys. Do not play the chalk because if the chalk goes off, everyone has a chalk. That lineup's not cashing anyway. And so just swap in the low owned guy. If they fail, doesn't matter. But if they end up having a good game and you save a couple min cashes, and that's great. And I know Smitty and I have won a lot of tickets for today's contest. Hopefully you guys won a bunch too, doing it the Occupy way. And so getting min cashes on those satellite tickets is really big.
Yeah, it's a nice boost to the ROI. Yeah, I have quite a bit on DraftKings and FanDuel, so I'm pretty excited for this slate.
Yeah, and I don't know how much we'll be hanging out in the Discord throughout the day, but we'll definitely be hanging out before the slate starts, an early day tomorrow. So instructions to join that are in the description below. I know we pre-recorded this video, so we didn't have any chat there, but maybe we'll get some more insights into the ownership and stuff in the morning. But we really appreciate you guys giving us a view on the holiday, however you spend your time. Hope you guys have a good one, and if you're playing DFS today, good luck.